It's Katie Lee, and this is the IMZ103 podcast.
Hey, it's Russell. You're listening to Z103, and here in the Z103 studio, I have Justine. Justine, can you tell me about yourself?
Yeah, we converted my garage into a tattoo studio.
That's cool. How did you get started in tattoos? Where did you first kind of learn about it?
Well, so it started, I was a school teacher. Last year, I was teaching school at Taylorview here in town. And it was really, really hard. And I was struggling a lot. And I felt like I needed to change. I had no idea what I was going to do. So I took Christmas break to decide, am I going to stay here and just like try to push through it? Or am I going to do something different? And I felt like I couldn't do it any longer. It was just too much. And it was wearing on my mental health. And so I decided that I was going to quit, but I had no idea what I was going to do. I went to school at an art school. I went to the Art Institute. And so I was thinking I want to do something with my art abilities that I went to school for in the first place. And it just came to me. And I like to say that it was God that told me. And it was actually kind of funny. I ran into my bedroom and my husband was sleeping. And I wake him up and say, honey, I've been talking to God and I know what I'm going to do. And he's like, half asleep, not knowing what and I'm like, I'm going to be a tattoo artist. And he's like, what? And then we just decided, okay, let's do this. And I started researching what I needed to do for the state of Idaho, what kind of training I needed. And I found out that there's actually an online training that you can do an apprenticeship through an online program that you have a web-based class with actual tattoo artists, and they teach you all the things that you need to know about safety and technique. And so, yeah.
That's really cool. How was the transition from your background in art? You say you went to an art institute. How was that translating that over to a different medium for using human skin?
In a lot of ways, it's very similar. Of course, most of the things that most mediums, you're not having to like work with like stretching of your material. You're not having to work with somebody moving while you're doing it. But a lot of the same, like color theory is still the same on the body. The elements of design still come into play. And it was surprising. I don't want to say it's easy because it's not easy. And it's really nerve-wracking because you're putting something permanent on someone's body and you're like, I could make a mistake at any moment and it's there forever. But it felt really natural. When I started doing it, it felt like home.
What are the best and worst parts of your job?
The worst part of it is probably the pressure of getting it right the first time, like when I'm tattooing, because there's no takebacks. In other mediums, like I've done a lot of like graphic design type work, and I can do undo and then fix it. But when you're tattooing, it's on there forever. And you never know if you are seeing the vision that the person's trying to tell you and portray to you. So you're always worried that you might not understand and then do it wrong. And that's probably the worst. The best part, I think, is like seeing their face after you're finished. They're just smiling without even knowing that they're smiling because they're just so happy that, and a lot of them, they'll take a long time. They've been thinking about it for a long time. And then they finally just did it. And then they're happy about it. Like that's probably the best part, is just seeing their faces after it's done.
That does sound like a really good part of the job. So how can we get in contact with you?
So you can find me on Instagram at InkThroughIt. I also have a website that you can communicate with me. And then you can actually find me on Google by just Googling tattoos in Rigby, and I'll come up.
Sounds good. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the IMZ 103 podcast. If you enjoyed the interview, please share, subscribe, and rate the podcast. IMZ 103 is hosted by Katie Lee and is a production of Riverbend Media Group. For more information or to contact the show, visit riverbendmediagroup.com.